koe I te rangatira, Malcolm. Thank you for your welcome, your opening mihi. Tēnā koutou e te whānau te karaiti. Greetings to the family of God in Christ. Thank you for the opportunity to say something about the work of Karuwhā Trust this evening, and it's nice to see some of my colleagues from Laidlaw on. I think I saw Jenny Mackie there and Stuart Lang there as well. And also wonderful to watch that blessing, that Aotearoa blessing version just now. It's been a while since I watched that, and amazing actually to see, oh, that's right, all these people that well, a lot that I don't know, but a few familiar faces pop up on that as well. The likes of Bishop Keto there, and from Tahi Mihingari and various others, Venn folk and so on. And even my mate Josh Taylor from St. John's, who also happens to be a governance board member at Laidlaw. So just to introduce myself briefly, I'm a board member of Karuwhā Trust, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. And I also happen to be a lecturer in history at Laidlaw College, specifically with a focus on New Zealand history, and have been co-teaching some content too over the last few years with Stuart Lang, which has been a great pleasure as well and privilege. So basically, it was the year 2000. I had been studying New Zealand history as part of a law and arts conjoint degree at Auckland University. I had stumbled upon the biography of the missionary Henry Williams, which had opened up new vistas on our past. And I'd also been studying the treaty at law school. So I had lots of questions, lots of issues, including about the intertwining of the Christian story and the treaty story in the islands of New Zealand. And I also had questions about what Waitangi Day at Waitangi was actually like, not how the media portrayed it. So in the year 2000, I got my two younger brothers on board. We packed camping gear and headed north from Pukekohe in my 1982 Ford Laser hatchback. And I'd have to say that first year at Waitangi was, for me, perhaps the most significant. We camped at Te Tii Marae in the days when it was covered with sleeping tents as well as marketplace stalls. And we'd actually camped, I reflected on it many years later, just beside Te Tau Rangatira, which is the place where the chiefs met on the night of the 5th February to further discuss the treaty presented that day by Captain Hobson across the Waitangi River. And so that's a very, very significant and sacred site to Ngāpuhi in the story of the treaty. My brothers and I were definitely an ethnic minority. I would say at that time there were barely 5% of people at Te Tii that weren't Māori. This was an era of big political debate tents at Te Tii. One mental image that has stayed with me was Mike Smith, the man who took the axe to the one tree on Maunga Kiekea, One Tree Hill, speaking from the lectern with a laptop in the days when many people didn't even have PCs, let alone laptops. And I recall that he sounded like a voice of reason, speaking carefully and with conviction. So in that year 2000, there was still the era of larger political rallies and marches at Waitangi. These have, I'd say, much lessened in recent years for the most part, apart from maybe the flashes in the last 2 to 3 years. My younger brother at the time, who was barely 17, he joined a protest march from the Lower Marae up to the treaty grounds. And that brother is now an Anglican minister, so I figure that's what you get when you hang out at Waitangi. It's a good consciousness raising exercise. So that first year, I also tracked down a descendant of Henry Williams, who was, for those not aware, now I'm not going to assume anything here, the leading Church Missionary Society missionary in 1840, the translator of the treaty from the English draft into the Māori text. And that text, of course, was signed around the country by 500 chiefs or so. I went to the Williams Memorial Church at Paihia and asked someone there if there were any Williams descendants around. And somebody told me where Elizabeth lived. And so I found this beautiful woman, Elizabeth Ludbrook, who grew up in Taiamai, Ohio, with the stories of her Williams tupuna or ancestors. And when she began to tell those stories in her little house in Paihia, it seemed like history was reverberating in the room. And I was moved in particular by the story of William's dismissal from the CMS and a reconciliation hui that Elizabeth herself had experienced in relation to that in 1998 on the 200-year anniversary of the CMS. So what happened after the year 2000? Basically, I started taking groups of young people up to Waitangi, initially a small group. And in 2005, we started a charitable trust to support these pilgrimages and other purposes around history and treaty education. And so the trust is, I suppose, approximately 21 years old. Now, Karuwhā means literally 4 eyes, after Henry Williams, who wore these things, spectacles. And so we saw his story as representative of the wider story of Māori mission and kāwanatanga, or government, that became interwoven in these decades of the 19th century. And this small group in 2001 grew slowly, but since probably the last decade, since around 2016, we've experienced amazing growth in numbers. So we now have around 120 adults plus kids. Our places book out within days or weeks. So what do we actually do at Waitangi? And I know you have some prayer points there, but to begin with, we take part in the commemoration events at Te Marae and the treaty grounds. We watch, we sometimes participate in the speaking tents. We attend the dawn prayer ceremony on Waitangi Day, often a moving experience. It's a must for our rōpū. We observe with thousands of others, the waka launchings, 21-gun salute. There's lots of kara, there's lots going on, lots of fried bread, lots of fantastic food. Secondly, we've developed over the years a relationship with Te Marae, or the Loa Marae as it's often called, which means that we now help to serve in the marae kitchen, and then we do other service mahi over 4 to 6 February to assist the hapu in hosting the nation. And we also, on the Te site, have our own marquee, which is a base for our team, where we hold our own speaking and reflection events, a morning prayer, evening prayer, and so on. More broadly, we take our group on guided site visits with kaumātua, descendants, and historians out to Ōhope, Rangihaua, where this first CMS mission was sited, where Marston famously preached his sermon, and around the Paihia mission and other sites with key people guiding us. So in sum, we have a rich experience. We come away with more knowledge about our past, but even more so, a deeper appreciation of the relationships that were formed in the early days of the country we now call Aotearoa New Zealand. Relationships that can, when you're at Waitangi, both be observed and felt to be very much still part of the fabric of our present. And so we come away with ongoing challenge of repairing and reviving relationships, of learning the stories and experiences of other communities within the nation. And so by being at Waitangi, by learning and by serving, we in some way participate in those many varied stories. And I think that such commemorative activity is part of what makes a society a community that deserves to be called a community or a society of human beings. So I'd just like to finish with a few verses from Te Rawiri, or the Psalms, which I think, to me, say what the treaty and Waitangi, both the event or the covenant and the place itself, can mean for the nation. So this is Psalm 85, 10 to 11. Just a couple of verses in Māori and then in the authorised version. Kua tū tātaki te mahi tohu raua ko te pono. Kua kihi tahi te tikanga raua ko te māriatanga. E tupu ake e te pono i te whenua, a e titiro iho te tikanga I te rangi. Mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven.